Hey, hey.
How you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm well. I saw you taking a sip.
Right, right. I'm like, it's early, and we will be talking for an hour. And I talk
Yes.
a lot.
Stay hydrated. Gotta do it. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here with us
Thanks for the
today.
invite. I really appreciate it. How am I
You
closing
are,
this joint down?
I know you're closing it.
So many
Yes.
great people. You've had so many great people drop so many great things. People that I know, people that I came to know. I sent a lot of people that were part of my workshop and my network here because so many
Great.
great things were shared. So I feel honored to be ending this joint. So it's cool.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yes. I wanted people in all different parts of the industry to participate because I think when we're on the outside, which most of us are, right? A lot of us are not from California. We didn't grow up around this industry. We tend to think that our way into the industry is very narrow. We
Right.
tend to think that, my only option is to become a writer or a director,
Or an actor.
or an actor. Exactly. And people don't realize that there's so many other parts of this industry that can make you a part of the creative process, right? And you never know who's making what decisions when you see
Never.
something on the screen.
No.
It's a collaborative effort and everybody is doing their part. So I want people to learn about that. And you have played a very, very important role in this industry that's kind of unsung. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I wanted to bring you here today so we could learn about that and so people can understand how it can be a stepping stone into other paths and not necessarily into writing. But again, when you're in the positions that you have been in and you've been in the rooms that you've been in, now you're making connections and you might be able to hop into different places. So I'm not going to jump into that part yet. We're going to start from the beginning, from the front. Okay. So give me your backstory. Where are you from? What made you get into this industry? If you were in some other industry beforehand and then you decided to get into this industry, how did you get here? Tell us your story.
Okay, so I am originally from Philly, but I grew up in Baltimore, so my accent's really jacked up, kind of blended.
Yes,
Kind of like my life and my
Baltimore,
story.
child.
Oh, come on, don't do that. Like, it's only certain words, and I'm not going to say any of them. You'll pick them up
You
as we
should.
talk. Nope. I ended up getting into poetry, spoken word during that time. I was real crunchy, had locks down on my shoulders. But I was always a storyteller, but I was in school for engineering. I ended up working in restaurant business. And maybe about 8 years ago now, I had a story that was bigger than anything structure-wise that I had attempted. And I'm like, oh, this is a script. I need to see this. And I went to Barnes & Nobles and picked up a Screenwriting for Dummies book. Like, no bull. So for me, it was like, I need to make sure. I'm like, I don't know. I know there's other things I need to do, but can you format your story style to this? And that script, 8 years later, you hear these stories all the time about TV. That is my sample that has been getting me work, has got me a manager, has got me an agent. So I actually haven't even talked about that outside of these series because I want to share with people that, even though I don't have anything written by on television currently, I still have a manager and an agent who read my work and believed in me. And it was about me putting myself out there. And I got in those circles because of my job as a showrunner's assistant, not because of the job. I put myself in a position to meet these people. And when it was time for my ask, that's how it played out. But I've been in LA for 5 years.
Okay. What brought you here? What was that first move?
Writing. So I was in restaurants, had been in there for 12 years. They were like, oh, we're getting rid of your apartment, but we're going to promote you to national. I'm like, I got 11 years, and can I get that severance check?
Okay.
I'm like, that money, that money got a comma in it, but that's before we start talking about taking out 401ks and things of that nature. Because what I did is I had a dream. I now had $1 because I'm like, I'm out. And I shot a proof of concept for the script that I had been working on at the time. And that was my handshake into the industry. I got into the ABFF with my pilot, getting eyes on that. And one of the board members became a great friend and mentor and just opening a door for me. And then I moved to LA that very summer. And I've been out here for 5 years. And I met Lena when I was still in the restaurant industry when I moved out here, Lena Waithe. has been my mentor for the last few years, and just putting me in places where I can meet people, grow in my craft, study, learn. Like I'm still a student, you know, even though I didn't go to film school, I immediately realized that my storytelling needed to get stronger in the structure way. And so I took classes from a MFA from Juilliard, my mentor, Lee Edward Colston, who's on For Life, and Fargo with Chris Rock this coming season. And just seeing his grind and his hustle, but stage play, Broadway. You know, I have a lot of Broadway foundation in my backyard of people who have been supporting me and like, all right, well, what if the story does this? You know, and having a tribe of people has been important for my growth out here.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. What I want everybody to hear him say is that he was in the restaurant business for 12 years. Then 5 years ago, he moved out here. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who are like, I'm too old, or I'm in this other industry, how am I supposed to transition? What am I supposed to do? It's possible, guys. Just do it. Every day you wake up is an opportunity to say, I want to do something different.
And make sure that when you do get an opportunity, because I think what happens is we have it now. Social media has helped that a lot. One of someone that's in my network reached out to Lena before the big bang of it all, and through social media, and was able to get in her circle as far as becoming a mentee for her. Yeah. And you know, you don't realize the power of it. That a lot of times it's just like, all right, it's a like here and there. Your favorite writers, just speaking specifically to writers out there, you can find them. They have less followers than I do, than me and you do. Yeah. And it's like they have Emmys and Grammy, like Emmy award, Oscar nominated. Like they have so much stuff under their belt, but it's just like social media for them, as even writers, is not something that naturally we gravitate to. Like I stopped tweeting because I'm like, oh, these are 140 characters when it was that. It's a hot line for one of my characters. You know, I'm like, this is something that I don't need to share, or maybe is too much, because I see a lot of people now scrubbing their social media because it's like, yeah, you are out of pocket for that thought, but if you characterized it, gave it some art, gave it some, you know, flesh, rip it from the headlines, then that gives you something to really talk about, right? Mm-hmm. So I've had an opportunity to really, you know, reach out to the people that I'm a fan of, congratulate them, give them their flowers, and, you know, find out what my ask is. Is it to read my work, or is it just, you know, I hope to bump into you one day. I'd like to pick your brain. We have the same XYZ in common. But knowing what your ask is important, and knowing that often too, you know, sometimes people are busy. And if they say
not sometimes,
most of the time,
people are busy.
Busy. People are busy. But until people say, don't hit me up, or, you know, or I can't, you know, just like, let me know when I can follow up with you. Oh, I know you're working currently, or I know your show just started, or I know XYZ may be on your plate. Let me know when you have time. I'd love to send you my work, or I'll send it to you. You let me know when you have time, or I'll follow up. And having a respectable timetable, not a week or two, like your friends can get back to you. But it's just like, depending on the people that you're getting in touch with, giving them some time. And then are you asking them for notes? Are you asking them just to be a fan of you, to speak highly of you? Because that's something too. And then people underestimate that. Like, they're very different things, different things. And giving notes and giving coverage is something that is a task and a skill that we exercise and do, and the time that it takes. And it's not that we don't have it. It's just that often I can have an eye to say, all right, so what do you need from me? Because you haven't asked me anything. You just asked for me to read it. And so, again, it's important to know what your ask is and to ask for it specifically.
Yeah, definitely. Give out the gems on today. Okay, so let's get into, we've heard you say you were a showrunner's assistant. Mm-hmm. So for people who don't understand what a showrunner is, if you can explain that to us, and then explain to us how you became his or her assistant and what those duties were.
Okay, so I am the showrunner's assistant for the upcoming season of The Chi, which is premiering in 2 weeks. And my showrunner's name is Justin Hillian, who's been a writer on the series since the beginning. He also works on Snowfall too. So, you know, Gritty City Stories is something that he does, and has been in that world. When you think of showrunners, you hear names like Kenya Barris. He runs all the Ish shows, well, before ABC kind of fractioned off and Freeform and the Netflix of it all. Shonda Rhimes is another showrunner that you may know by name. David Wolf. Like there are people whose entities, you know, the Chicago brands, the NYPD brands, and they kind of streamline. They are the captain usually of the ship. Now that doesn't mean that they run the show or that they are the original storyteller of it. So the example I'm going to point to is Insecure. Insecure is based off of Awkward Black Girl, which was an Issa Rae production. Issa Rae got the deal and had never worked in TV. So they partnered her with a showrunner who had Prentice Penny.
Yes.
So in that sense, he and her worked in conjunction about the storytelling of it. But when it comes to reading all the scripts, the green lighting of music, extras, casting, clothing, all the nuances of it, that's something that falls on his plate. And there are people that are responsible for the cohesion of it. So the Shy I mentioned, the showrunner is Justin Hillian, but it's created by Lena Waithe.
Can I stop you one moment? Because I wanna focus on something that you just said. Because I have a lot of writers who say, I've written this script and they believe that they're going to be the ones who get to run it. And I want them to understand that being a showrunner is a management position. It is an experienced management position. And if you ever get a deal somewhere and they allow you to run your show, knowing that you have never written anything before and never been in this industry before, they are setting you up for what?
For failure.
You should want an experienced showrunner to come in that you can learn from, who can make sure the day-to-day of your show is happening. So you may be out there and be a creator. You may get your created by title. They may even give you an executive producer title if your agent is, you know, about it like that. But you don't want to walk into your first show for your baby that you've been working on for however many years and become the showrunner if you've never even been in a room before.
In a room.
You have to learn you don't know how it works. You have to learn how the system works first. Okay. And then you want to work your way up to being a showrunner when you know that you're going to be successful at it. So thank you.
Important. Oh, one of my favorite things. So I teach a workshop right now about breaking into the writer's room as a writer. And there are a lot of people that want to do a lot of different things in writing or in this path of entertainment. But breaking in, I've had a lot of classes that I've taken and I've gotten good at giving notes and feedback and helping craft story. But the idea that if we sell a show tomorrow, there's no way that we're going to be in a position to, like you said, run it. And there's a dope documentary that I have all my workshop attendees take called Showrunner. It's on Amazon, iTunes. But what it does, it gives you the step-by-step of every position in the room. Now, every room doesn't always employ those positions. Everyone can just be a staff writer, and then you can have a showrunner. You can have people that are story editors. All the people can be supervising producers or co-EPs or co-producers or whatever the role that it is often delineates what position you're doing or how involved you are on script and on set. So the differences in there are explained in that documentary. And what's dope about it, it was shot maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So the people that are in it in the room are currently running shows. Misha Green is in it. Karen Gist is in it. You know, Ali Leroy is the only Black current showrunner that's featured in there. You know, and I had the opportunity to work for him. So this is kind of tied back into what you were asking me before. There are very few people that have the title of showrunner. It's a new thing. You know, when you think about A Different World, Debbie Allen was the showrunner essentially, even though she wasn't always in the room or she, you know, sometimes she was directing episodes. So we look at it now as Ali Leroy. I had an opportunity to be his writing assistant for a movie he directed in hopes that by the end of it, he would hire me freelance, and he did. So I was his freelance assistant because he has an overall deal at CBS. So what that means is that currently he has no TV shows at CBS. So he doesn't have a writer's room, but he has a development deal. So often he has an office where he has people that are ending up. The name of the doc again is Showrunner. Showrunner, and it's real simple. It's maybe about an hour and a half. So he has a development office where he ends up having freelancers or people that he's working with or anybody who's breaking story, developing dialogue, helping work out some of the kinks of some of the things that they are working on. He finds an opportunity to pair people up, and from there, I had an opportunity to interview for the position that I'm currently in. And it's just about being good at the job you are. Like if it's being someone who can give dialogue notes, someone who's good at structure. You know, I was showing Ali things on Final Draft, and he was like, "Oh my God, you know Final Draft?" I'm like, "No, homeboy, I took a tutorial right before I started this job." Like,
right, but you don't need to know that. You think I
know it. You don't need to know that.
And
I need to be an expert in this, you know? And it's great that, you know, we talk about the things that we know, but it's also, I had skill sets before I came to any of these jobs. I had a career in a corporate America life, so I was able to switch a lot of that, and all that has paid off for me
those skills
as a showrunner's assistant, because as an assistant, there's usually two paths. You're usually some kind of writer, but you may not want to be in the writer's room. You may want to become a creative exec, where you just want to give notes, find that gem in it, elevate that, be the place of the audience, exactly like you, who know what needs to happen, knows what happens in the room, but knows how to influence it from that high level. Whereas my pursuit was solely to be in the room, to write on shows, and to grow up on that scale to become a showrunner. And in that, a lot of my business skills came in handy. Setting up meetings, travel. Like I opened restaurants all across the country, 20 different ones in different states. And in that, all those served me. And this was like, oh, I know how to schedule meetings outside of my time zone. You know, I know how to be mindful of, all right, my alarm clock needs to be set for 6 a.m. because they're on set at 8 a.m. in Chicago. You know, and it's not because my job requires that of me, but I wanted to make myself available. I was happy to be here.
Because they will call.
Oh, they will call. And it's like, well, were you busy? You know,
right.
So
no,
of course not. I'm up. But it's important to know what your skill set is and to make that available. But also when it's time, again, I've met people who have been in the room that haven't solicited the writers in the room to read their work. You know, and it's just like, those are people who have worked side by side with you for months on end and know some kind of acumen about your work ethic. You know, have some idea of what you can do, and at the very least can read your work at some point in it.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I asked all of the people that I work with, the people that I encountered, and that's kind of where it found me successful in that job of, you know, my also goal, I told my showrunner, was to make sure he was the first 2-time showrunner of the Chi, because they've had a different one every year. And you know, fingers crossed, that's what's gonna happen. So
that's great. A couple of things I want to point out that he said was, now I lost it. Oh, the different skills that you bring to the writer's room or even to a development room. And for those who missed it, you can have a development deal somewhere without having shows there. What it means is you're developing things so that they can get a good look at it first to see if they want it. And if they don't, depending upon your deal, you may be able to go to sell it in other places. But they're basically paying you to develop things for them. But note that as a writer, you don't necessarily have to be that triple threat like people are in musical theater. Like in musical theater, you have to act, you have to sing, you have to dance, right? In writing, you have to know what you're good at. So like he said, you can be someone who's great at structure. You might be great at dialogue. I wanted you to hear what he said about his showrunner, that he does gritty city dramas. Is that what you said? Something like that?
Well, it's funny. He's actually a comedy writer, but he's on some of the grittiest shows currently, yes.
Right. So those are labels in quotations that you can use to understand what kind of writer he is, therefore what he brings to the table, therefore what shows he should be on. So understanding who you are, what you do, what you can bring to the table, and even understanding your weaknesses, you know what I'm saying? So that when you're in these meetings, you can know, like, I'm not the dialogue person, but my co-writer is, or I'm not co-writer, but my staff member is. And so let me go work with them when I do my draft, because I want them to come through and do a dialogue pass, right? So you're being hired to come in and do your strengths.
And for any of you that have a skill set that's so other, that's something that you can't commonly come by, put it in your scripts. Like often, there's two things I want to say about that. Like there are people that get hired for Grey's Anatomy to write the medical jargon. If you've seen Shonda Rhimes' master class, she talks about, we get to a point in the script and this is like medical, because I don't need to know how a tracheotomy works and the details of it. Like you're gonna get lost in the research. And as writers, we can do that. We want to make sure that, you know, we know it and it is authentic as possible, but you end up spending 4 weeks getting your pre-med degree and trying to figure out how to write a script. And this is like, no, you can do the science of it, or the space of it, you know, to find that and keep the momentum going. And also in that, a lot of us have great stories. Some of those are not samples for you as a writer.
Right.
I had, when I was soliciting my log lines to the managers that I got, of the 10, there's one that's like a children's animation thing, and it's so outside of the world of my log lines. It was pitched to me by a friend, something I co-wrote with him, and you know, when I started pitching it to them, they were like, so let me get this right. You have Send and Receive, which is like this sexy political drama. You have this Under Protection, which is like this bodyguard John that I have. And this is like, all of these things are like streaming, TV, MA. And a children's John is like, how do we pitch that? You know, and I was like, oh, you're right. That's actually not something, once I'm staffed, sure. You know, once I'm developing, great. You know, then ABC, Disney, and I'm like, oh, we have this somewhere that you can get on. But that's not your sample. That's not who you are as a writer. Like, that's not,
and it's not necessarily what you want to be writing every day.
Oh my God, that is not the job I want to get first. Working in children's stories? No, no, that ain't it. I ain't gonna be mad at the check, but
but you have to do it though.
But it's important to know the difference between a sample and a good script, because you can have a good script and it's not a sample for you as a writer.
Right, because it's not what you want to write, which goes back to understanding who you are, what your lane is, what you bring to the table, what you want to write. Because I say, you know, people will say, well, look, I got this comedy script, but I really want to be on a show that's a drama. It's like, well, I don't know what drama you're going to book with this comedy script. Now, it doesn't mean that depending upon the drama that they don't need a comedy person in the room, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that your comedy script is going to get you that job. So your sample has to match what's coming out of here. You know, it has to match with what you want.
And I interviewed, I had a great interview with my showrunner. After all was said and done, I'm pretty sure I had the job. Still got a phone call from him and Grad, hey, send us your sample. You know, no matter, it's like, can you write? Because you're going to have to write things like synopsises. You're going to have to write character descriptions, things that fall off your boss's plate. You are the goalie. Like, it is team showrunner. Like, whatever it is, your job is to make sure the magician looks great, you know, so you do all the magic here. And it's like, no one knows, right? It's like, don't look over here. I'm doing this. And it's like, I'm leaving the room. And it's like, we had such a synergy, me and my showrunner, because it was like, if I'm leaving the room and I'm not telling you, trust me, it's for something that I don't want to interrupt you about, but I'm going to fill you in. I had like little Post-its. I'd slide to him, you know, I ain't trying to disturb your groove, but trust that I have, you know, as your number one, as your first officer, I'm like, all right, you know. And it's often too that you have opportunities as showrunner's assistant to co-write episodes. A lot of broadcast shows where you have more than 12. So most writers' rooms are comprised of no more than 10, somewhere between 6 to 10 writers and the showrunner. So to be in this position to co-write an episode with another writer often comes up when you're on shows that have 20, 24, 26, like CBS and NBCs and CWs. So it's definitely great to have writing as your backbone if that's something you want to pursue, because it can avail yourself during that season to get something written on TV.
And you should know, because when you go into your interviews, they're going to ask you. They're going to know, like, what is it that you want to do? And, you know, it's not that it's not okay to not know. But just know that if you do know, because we all get to a place in life where it's like, what do I want? You know what I mean? And so, but being able to spin it in a way to say, you know what, I'm still trying to decide, and that's why I want this job, because I want to be exposed to X, Y, and Z, so I can kind of figure out where I'm trying to get, you know, in this life. So going with your transferable skills, because I always want people to hear that too. Whatever it is that you're doing right now can transfer into this industry, especially as a writer, because that's an area of expertise that you can bring to the table. For example, if anybody ever does a Black show about musical theater, I spent 8 years in musical theater. Holler at me, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, you know, right now it's like, well, how is musical theater going to help anybody? But if it's on my resume and people are hiring to do X, Y, and Z, they'll go, oh, she knows something about musical theater. But beyond that, Right. But being an assistant, tell us about the like organizational skills that are necessary, because it's not necessarily a skill set that everybody has. And some people try to get into that assistant position because they think, oh, this is the plug. Like, this is how I get in. But there's a necessary set of skill sets that you need as an assistant to be good at it.
Right. So I am great at keeping other schedules except my own.
Yeah.
I mean, I can schedule it down. I'm spreadsheets. Here. So I wish I could share my screen with you. I have this cork board in my showrunner's office. Most people have it. It's a whiteboard where it's like the schedule of everything, who's writing what, then the dates of all that. And there's so much stuff that moves. And, you know, by the end of the season, it's smudged. You done rewrote and it just gets real nasty, you know. So I put up a cork board with strings and postcards that I cut in half. So, right, push pins. So it's over his whole wall so we can just move things as it was. When I tell you it looks so psycho and so killer, this is like real string theory and everything. Like, I'm sitting in the corner just measuring string half the day. And people are like, what is wrong with him?
What are you doing?
You know, but I have a
who is he obsessed with and who is he trying to murder?
Who is he tying up at the end of the day? So it was, I remember once my showrunner got into his office and saw it because he didn't know what was happening during the day. He was like, this is great. You know, it was something that I learned from a showrunner's assistant on God Friended Me, Lydia Tafaro. She's an amazing writer. And she helped me, showed me little gems that helped along with that. But on top of that, you know, for me, keeping schedules, I was my boss's personal assistant when he came in the door. He didn't need personal things, but had you eaten? Did you get something? Because, you know, I don't want you to have to get up or feel like you don't have things at the ready, or giving out, you know, information to the rest of the writers in the room, you know, not being first there, last to leave. And also knowing the juggle of that, because once it became that the writers were writing from home, you know, checking in with them, still keeping up with schedules, letting them know, inviting them to things, you know, keeping up with, you know, being an assistant to the room as well as being my showrunner's assistant was part of the job and integral to what I needed to do. Also, for me, I had an opportunity. So when you write on TV, anything that has a newspaper or magazine that's not real, and most of the time they're not real because you can't clear them, you have to write the information that's on them. And because of that, you can't write blah, 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 because y'all like to pause stuff and hold us to the fire about that. What is that?
Girl, I don't even say that.
Like, people will make sure that it's even stuff written on the other side. Oh, it's blank. So to be in the space to have to luxury of being able to write that. So anytime you see a newspaper on the Shy this season, most of the articles are written by me. But it's great to be able to have that.
You have bylines.
I have bylines. I also had an opportunity to work with the art department, an amazing group of people in Chicago. And we created an exhibit about the sounds of the Civil Rights Museum because we needed our characters to talk about something at the DuSable Museum in Chicago. It didn't exist. I wrote all the prose from it based on the artists we wanted to cover, mostly Chicago folks, right? Stopped through Chicago. The DuSable loved the fake exhibit so much they kept it up indefinitely. It's still up there currently now. And they have made a whole wall out of it. And it was a great opportunity and collaborative spirit to work with someone who wants to showcase that realized that, all right, this was something great for the show, but we don't have this, you know? So I'm like, Mama, not only do I have a byline, I have an exhibit in a museum that's Smithsonian affiliated. Who knew? Mama, I made it.
Who knew? I made it. You never know where it's going to take you. So tell us, do you have to travel often as a showrunner's assistant, or what is your travel schedule like?
So it varies. So the Shy is located in Chicago, all of it. All locations, Send Space Studios is where they do all of their studio shots. So it's dope to be able to travel with your showrunner, but sometimes it's not in the budget. So often writers too do not get a chance to fly to locations if your show is shot on location. It just may not be in the budget for you to do. It's also not a given that as the writer of your episode that you will produce your episode. you're always welcome to come produce your episode. But if it's not downstairs, like downstairs from where you at, it's kind of not a thing unless it's in your contract that you're going to produce your episode. Right. So you may be invited to come to set and your information should be valued if you work with a great group of people, but often it may not be in the money to do that. So I did not, and also you may have a showrunner that has a great producing EP, a producing partner, who's responsible for taking care of the set responsibility. Yeah. So that's kind of what my showrunner did. He did go out to set for his episodes, and I did get a chance to go out with him for his penultimate episode, and was dope. I had the opportunity to hold him down for his week of pre-production. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So you have to take location calls. You have to be available to casting, and it's great just to be in the room when it's happening, not just being on the phone. So that when he came in, he was all ready to just shoot his episode, knew what was going on. I was able to download him the way we had previously, because he hadn't been on set for about 7 episodes at that point. Mm-hmm. So often showrunners assistants do get sometimes opportunity to be on set. Travel depends on your showrunner. Depends, some people work for their showrunner year long. Even when the show isn't on, because there are other things about the show, post-production, other things that are going on with marketing that they may feel that they need their help with. They may be working on multiple shows. Some showrunners employ multiple assistants for those things because they have certain skill sets. So you can travel. It's great if you can. I feel like the world is getting ready to change on that as far as unnecessary people being available. Like, I asked my showrunner for one thing this season, and it was to go on set, and he made sure that happened for me, and it was a great experience because there's not going to be crowding unnecessarily around Video Village anymore. People that aren't supposed to be there on set and in office spaces. Like, I really feel blessed that was just November. That's so right before the world changed. And it's a great opportunity if you can, as a showrunner's assistant, to ask to be on set, because that experience is invaluable for TV. It is very, very different than being on a movie set, because the pacing of it is different. There are people that you work with in a different capacity. There's someone who is responsible for the tone and the look of the show. That's usually your director of photography, because they are the people that stay with the show usually the whole season. Yeah. The directors change every episode usually, and they come in and it's their responsibility to breathe life into the script, ask those things, but the director of photography's responsibility is to focus specifically on the tone. So just get a chance to work with people in those aspects side by side with them. Any of those things are so important to pick up on. And again, making yourself available to be solution oriented was helpful for me. I got a huge win on like my first day. Noticed something that no one could have picked out. It was something that was a picture that was supposed to be hung from a famous artist that we had gotten the work and the rights to showcase, but it wasn't there. And I ran around this whole location looking for it. And I'm like, oh, it has to be here. And they was like, oh, yeah, it's upstairs in the bathroom. I'm like, get that thing out and put it in the hallway in this shot. It's the last shot of, like, there's no time we're back in this location. So we got it, showed it, took the pictures I needed to do, and then I left. I'm like, you got to win, take a walk. When you get a win, take a walk. Don't try to follow it up with another home run. Take a walk.
No, yeah. And always be a few steps ahead. It's your job to see the problems coming. All right, so quick question before we open it up to, I don't know if it'll be a quick question, but whatever, before we open it up to questions. So tell us the difference between being a showrunner's assistant and being a writer's assistant.
Oh, good. So the showrunner's assistant's job is to assist the showrunner, usually in the day-to-day facilities, sometimes writing, mostly scheduling and the business side of it. So if I had to say a percentage, it's maybe 30% writing and about 70% business. And that's just totality for business. It encompasses a lot. The writing's assistant job almost never leaves the room. They also have an opportunity, depending on how many episodes the show has, to get an opportunity to co-write an episode. But the writing's assistant's job is to capture everything that's happening in the room and be able to put it down on script form, bullet format, usually with character arcs, theme notes, and kind of be able to sponge it all and put it in a way that's receivable to the showrunner and the writers later. Because what happens is there may be 10 people shouting out things that are going on, and it's obviously things that are going on the board. There's note taking. The level of detail is extremely important as a writer's assistant, because you are the thread for, just like the director of photography, your job is to, well, no, that's the continuity, the consistency kind of falls at them, because often they're reading more of the scripts than anyone else.
And they're reading everybody's stuff.
Everyone's scripts, everyone's notes. Often they get pulled in with writers to help, with a direction of a story, depending on what season they may be in. If they were brought in later, with certain details, what is the last name? Like, they're supposed to be the encyclopedia for the show. Oh, well, what's this person's last name? Do they have somebody that they used to, do they have a baby? What the baby name is? Like, all of those things end up, it's like, oh, well, the baby did have a name, and knowing those frames of reference. And it's the job often requires you to sit in your seat and not go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because you can't miss anything, or you have to tell the room to stop. Like, don't talk about this. Switch subjects. Like, pause. Go back to Game of Thrones. Whatever y'all want to talk about, but don't talk about the show, because I want to make sure I get it all down while I'm gone. And it's a job that requires a lot of it's a job that has a lot of pressure. But it's coveted because once you've kind of been inundated with all these different writers and notes and scripts and being charged with being responsible for so much, it does make you a stronger writer. It does avail you the opportunities to co-write episodes because you're so close to it. And often it may be you were helping out with an outline, or you were helping out because someone is doubled up on a script, or it may be that they have an opportunity to give someone a heads up, because it's like, all right, well, look, I got my two, and you really know their story because it just so happened to land on Black women, and Shannon, you a Black woman, so let me partner with you and co-write this joint, rather than, well, I speak because I have Black women in my family, and and it's not just a tone or pass. It's just like, no, this story really is something that is pertinent to you. And I'm not saying that's always how it happens, but look for opportunities, to make yourself, and we had a fantastic writer's assistant on The Shy, Jay Branian, who was the writer's assistant 2 seasons. And that's something that you often don't see unless it's like a bigger network, where you see we see a writer's assistant there for 2 seasons, but she got to co-write an episode last season. So, I'm extremely proud of the work that we got to do, because when she was out, I was the writer's assistant.
And you were like,
no, like, because there's the writer's PA still in the room. So there's usually like three assistant tiers. There's the writer's PA, who's usually lunches, office manager, but they also have a skill set too. So don't knock them out. It's great if you are a writer, because you have a lot of people there who are resources. And you may find yourself being able to slide into a position. Like when our writer's assistant was out writing her episode, or for other reasons, myself and that writer's PA were often the writer's assistant for the day. And my instruction usually to the room was, talk like this is the cadence I need today. If you want all of your notes taken.
Yes. And again, this is one of those positions, guys, that everybody wants, because they're looking at it as the plug to get them to the next thing. But I just want you guys to hear about the skill set that's necessary for it. Not everybody takes that route. Some people take that route and do terribly. You know what I'm saying? And some people take that route and they soar, because being able to take notes is a skill. Those of us who went to college understand that sitting there and just listening to someone talk at you, and not even at you, because in the writer's room, they're not even talking to you, they're talking to each other, right? But like when you're in college, the person's just up there talking, and it's your job to take down the information. Back in the day, we didn't even have this. We had this. Oh, my wrist and hand used to hurt, right? But now, you have your computer, but being able to do that and know how to type well enough so that when you go back, you aren't necessarily dealing with, oh my God, what is this I typed and I don't even know what they were talking about. Somebody mentioned having a recorder, but you got to do what you got to do.
Look, 60 to 70 words per minute is like most jobs require you to type. Nope. 90 plus. 90 to 100 words per minute are what is expected for you as a writer's assistant. Like the capture of it all is so strong. And then as a showrunner's assistant, also being the backup for that person, you know, supporting them. Like, it's a support staff group that you should be in. The three of you should be tighter than as thick as thieves, because you should be able to fall into each other's position. Do I need you to take notes? Can I, like you mentioned before, also asking, can you record conversations? You know, for that, can I follow up with that? Yeah, someone said 90 words. Yeah,
90 words,
no
yeah.
joke. Or finding.
Can you imagine, like, if you were right now trying to take notes as he and I talk, and it's just the two of us. Imagine 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in the room. You need to know who said what sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to. It's like the lady, I can't remember what they call them, but you know, in the courts.
Stenographer.
The stenographer, I called her a lady. Look, I'm sexist. The stenographer. And, you know, in films, it's always a woman in the corner, like.
No, it would be me. I'd be sitting there like, I got this. As long as it's not Annalise, I got it. No, but it's important to have a skill set and to be strong in that. And, you know, being able to, you know, type fast is one of those things, but also being able to listen to what's happening, being able to convey notes, being able to listen for, okay, well, this is going to need music. Oh, this is a new character. This is going to need a name. This is going to need to be cleared. This is going to need to have casting. I need to let casting know this is down the road. Oh, they want someone big for this. All right, let's let the other casting agencies know. It's like there's so much that you have to be aware of, and no one tells you to do it often. It's you have to know.
You just have to know.
You have to know and be aware of it. And it's okay if you don't know that it's your job, and if you get told it, I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that, and I will make sure it never happens again. And put that in your "it never happens again" folder, and make sure it never happens. You know, also, like you said, owning up to what your faults are. You know, me and my showrunner, I was like, I'm gonna be there before you. That was our goal. Now, if there was a time I was supposed to be there, but I'm gonna be there before you.
I'm gonna be there before you, though. Oh, that is great. But yeah, so someone's asking, and I think you kind of answered this, but it's someone's asking about, is there an overlap in what the assistants need to do in different places? And I think your answer was, usually they have their different roles. So your writer's assistant is going to be in the room, period. They're usually not going to be asked to be pulled out to go do something else because that's their role. Whereas your office PA or your writer's PAs may be people who are jumping around, because that's just basically what PA means. Production assistant means you are where I need you to be doing what I need you to do. And showrunner's assistant is there for the showrunner. So whatever the showrunner needs is going to be first and foremost. And if the showrunner decides, oh, today you can go help do blah, 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 because that's where I need you to be, then that can happen. But for the most part, your title comes with your responsibility, and then that's what your job is to do.
And I'd also say showrunner's assistant is the one job that's not locked in by the time that the writers are in the room. You know, it's sunrise to sun up, depending on your showrunner. You know, you got to get on their schedule. When do you like to receive notes? When is the last time you want to take phone calls? Often studios and networks give notes all the way up until like 7 o'clock in the evening. You know, you may be in a room. You may be in a room where the writer's room ends up finishing up around 4 or 5. You know, so do you go home? Like, my office was in Westwood, Santa Monica area, and I live in the Valley. It's just like, so if I get off at 5, I need to be at my desk at my computer ready to take notes for this call by 6. I'm like, no, I'm just sitting my butt down in this chair, you know. And it's important to know the difference of, you know, when your schedule, and you kind of have some leeway with that. You know, you are the one who's responsible for the schedule. Now, obviously, you need to be scheduling in the best interest of your showrunner, but I liken it to hand of the king. Like, you don't get a meeting with the king unless they go through you. So it's important that you use that power specifically. You also check in with your showrunner. One of my favorite things that he did one day, I invited him to a locations call that was happening. And he was like, have I missed any other locations meetings? I'm like, no. He was like, have you just not been sending them to me? I'm like, correct. He was like, why? I'm like, because they don't talk about anything that you need to know about. And like, only reason why I sent this one to you is because it's your episode and there's no one else to talk about it to. He was like, good move. I'm like, you know, I knew he didn't need another meeting because we had concept meetings, tone meetings, other meetings that cover that kind of little portion of it. But location is like, well, you're not there. We have a location manager.
You have a location manager.
It's not
you have
your
a
episode.
producing partner that's going to be on
Right.
set.
And it's not your episode. So I invited the person who wrote it to it, but not you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just knowing that juggle or knowing what their needs are and just, you know, asking them, hey, you cool with me not scheduling you for this? So they'll usually say yes.
Yeah. And just something else to point out. It doesn't mean that you don't have time to work on your own projects. But this is your job, just like your day job if you're not in the industry right now. And so it's first priority. And a lot of the times when you're an assistant, you can be on call and your life revolves around that other person because you're their first line of defense. If something goes wrong, it's your fault, not theirs, right? So you're always consistently making sure they're okay, which doesn't give you as much time in the world to work on your own stuff. So you have to then be disciplined to say, on my day off that I do have, I got to get in and get my stuff done.
I wasn't disciplined. I took a sabbatical.
Yes.
Our show went up April of last year. The writing portion of it was mostly done by the top of November. Most of the scripts have been turned in. We started about 2 months of production, another 2 months of post. But like the bulk of my job was getting ready to wrap up. And that's when I returned to new drafts or to work on my script. Because essentially those months, however you're reading other people's work, other outlines, researching, that is your class. That is you listening to your professors. That is your semester at sea, whatever you need to take from it. It's important for you to get those things of, oh, that's how it's structured. Oh, that's how you write that. Oh, that's a dope way to stylize that. You know, be open to receiving as much information while you're in that room and then wait until you can give focus to it, to your work so that it shows in it. So that I was able to showcase my script, my sample that got me in the room by the end of the season. When I sent it back to Hillman grad to read and with their notes reflected in it, I was ashamed of the script that got me in the room. Because I'm like, oh, this is miles from what it was. And that should be the growth process. You should feel like I've learned so much from this room, especially when you're first in there. Not saying once you've been doing this for a while, but when breaking in, be a student. You should always be a student. I'm getting ready to take a screenplay course because I've co-written a script with my writing partner for feature, but I haven't had an opportunity to do one solo. And I just like learning more and not saying before, but learning as I go through up and down. It's like, all right, so I need a class to really learn this. And, I took a class on this, so I'll apply this. And, the double dutch of that is important.
And then also realizing that doesn't mean that you're not being productive just because you're not physically writing. There are different stages and parts of your process. And if you decide I'm a showrunner's assistant and I know that my contract is for 6 months, it's okay to say I'm going to take those 6 months and focus on being a showrunner's assistant. And therefore, that's where I'm going to have my class. That's going to be my film school. And when I get out of it, especially because this industry is gig to gig. So when that gig is over, it's over. Now you have all the time in the world to sit around and write until you get your next gig. So it's okay to not feel like, I don't subscribe to that. You have to write something every day. Every day is not going to be a day that you're motivated. It's a protest outside your window, honey. If you don't write today, it's okay. I personally feel like effective writing is what matters. You can write once a month, but if you're effective.
And as you mentioned too, like I feel like for TV writers, I meet so many people that want to work in TV that don't watch TV. Or like, I don't watch that. Like you've got to watch TV. Not all of it. There's so much to consume, but especially shows that are similar to ones that you want to develop, shows that you're working on. So like working on The Chi, I made sure I was watching Snowfall and Queen Sugar. Not like I wasn't already, but so I was also aware of storylines like, nope, they've done that. Like, oh, they did that last season. And not to be negative, but also to kind of steer it in a way that's just like, I'm aware of what's out there in the world to be in a conversation about, but also be responsible so it doesn't feel like I'm just pumping out the same thing that everyone else is. Because once you've thought about it, it's in the ether. Other people are thinking about it. It's just, how can you tell it differently?
Period. So I'm going to say that again because everybody's always concerned about people stealing your idea. 100,000 other people have your idea. And that's not negative. I don't want you to think like, what? I'm unique. No, you're not. And this is why. Because we're all living in the same time. We're taking in all of the same information. We're all on social media. We all watch TikTok. We're all watching CNN right now. We're all seeing Black people die on social. We're all taking that in. We all went to high school and had a prom. We all had a first date. We all had a first kiss. You know what I'm saying? We all have been living these same things. What makes your idea unique is what you bring to that particular idea. It's going to be your particular characters, not the idea in itself. Right. There's nothing new under the sun. So let that part go, guys. Let it go. If you're thinking about it, somebody else is thinking about it. I say this, I give this example with that Justin Timberlake movie and that Ashton Kutcher movie that came out in the same year, and it was the same movie. One was like Friends with Benefits, and the other one was something, right?
Yes. I know
it was the exact same movie. It was about the exact same thing, and it came out in the exact same year. So I'm glad that you said that. Once you know that you're thinking about it, know that somebody else is thinking about it, and it's really just about how you're going to execute it and who. Thank you. No strings attached and just friends, and how you get it out there into the universe. So let that part go. Free yourself from that burden.
Yeah, I mean, and just how can I make it solely me, more close to me, authentically me? How can you not do this story without me? You know, I ended up landing my manager by being authentic. I talk about me and being Black and growing up middle class, going to college. Both my parents are together. Being bi, being in corporate America, going to a HBCU, like all of these things make, and I'm a nerd. Like once I turn those corners, it's like, oh, I don't have a one of you, and you check so many boxes, you know? And then it's like, oh, you can authentically write this story and not Black man number one, or, you know, oh, we have to deal with this, or addressing it. Like, no, you need to address that. And I'm gonna tell you that, you know, because I'm responsible for that. Or nope, that shouldn't be their name. You know, like that they, you know, being responsible to the story in totality. I'm seeing a lot of writers, a lot of producers, a lot of companies now standing on Black Lives Matter, but hire Black people. Like, don't just give me this bullshit conversation about what we are and what we aren't going to do. Like, when I get back in the room in a few months, when we get back in the room, when the opportunity for the industry starts back up, show up with your money, show up with your investment into telling stories and promoting people like you to greenlight things that are authentic, to be in spaces where we don't see Black people and not this stereotypical bullshit that we are used to seeing. Like, I'm tired of being in a space where we have to rewrite character descriptions. Like, oh my God, that character description is so dope. I'm like, you know why? Because I know that person. Not, I'm like, this is someone that I know. This isn't some bullshit. Right. This isn't someone I worked with, lived across the street with, or I've known it. And you have, I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen this person. I'm like, that's so sad.
You haven't. Yeah, it is sad, but the truth is you haven't. And now you're in this room trying to write that person, and you don't know that person, and I do. So hire me.
And you have all these people now that are being hired or being solicited for their unique stories. And it's because they have been fostering this rooms of people who are only factory workers. Like, I imagine it to be that I Love Lucy, you know, line of here you do, keep on going. Here, plop, go, because they've been doing that, even so much so that they're rebooting the shit that they've been done, because we're like, we're not invested in new stories that may not work. We just want to keep doing the shit that they've been doing. So hire people, like, so people like me are now getting ready, because it's like, oh my God, I've never had a you. I've never seen this story, you know.
Because you wasn't looking, honey. We've been here.
Look, and then it's like, oh, well,
you weren't looking for me. We've been here.
We've lost our bastions of Blackness on broadcast, like Kenya and Shonda. They've gone on and moved, and this is like, well, who's the new Black thing, you know? And I'm just like, no, who's the next best writer thing? And it happens to be people of color or marginalized people, because our stories still ain't being showed, and they're definitely not being filled with people that look like us or people that are of those qualities. Like, don't put Darren Criss in another gay movie unless he says he gay. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, homeboy said I'm not either. I'm just like, I have a hard time believing this, because you still in roles left and right. 6, 7 roles I know could have went to somebody else. You know, and I'm not saying that you can't authentically, you know, as an actor, lend yourself to other roles, but it's also important that you have to do the due diligence as casting directors to look out for other people that are those things, that can bring an authenticity that you, guess what? You weren't looking for it because you don't know it.
You don't know it.
So let's put people that front and behind the camera who can influence that. And also in a space where we're celebrating not just them being the oneness or the two-ness in the room, but we're putting them in positions so that they can lead the charge, run their rooms, run these companies, run these industries, these studios. We still aren't greenlighting. We still don't have greenlighting power. There's not a single studio.
That's where we have the least. And even if you have, and we only have 3 minutes left, so we'll cut it off here. But even if you have Black people with their own production companies, they still have to go in a room and pitch to people who don't look like them and don't understand their stories. Right. So it still becomes this thing. So even though we as a community are having more showrunners, we are making more content, we are starting our own production companies, etc., we're still usually not the people with the money or the distribution. So there's somebody else that we have to go and pitch to, and those people don't understand our story. And so that's where we need people the most, which is another reason why I had development executives on here. So those people who are interested in being a part of the process from A to Z, those are the only people who get to be there from A to Z. You know what I mean? It's those people who are sitting at their desk right now in their nice clothes. And that's where we need more diversity. So thank you so much for being here. I mean, it was about to get real.
Right. I mean, because I think
real, but it's necessary.
I think it's really necessary to have these conversations even after this series, so people continue pushing the people in power to realize that we need folks that are greenlighting it, that are supporting it, and stop comparing our shit. Until there's 25 different Black-led, written by shows on TV, broadcast, and cable, not just the Friends shit. Don't compare our shit, because it's like there's so much still for us to do, good and bad. Like I'm someone that talks about the good and bad shows because we need them. We need them to push the envelope, because there are 600 good and bad white shows out there. But we don't get an opportunity to really have our shows included in that. They have to be fantastic to everybody and speak to everybody's audience immediately from the pilot. And I'm just like, I hope you keep that same energy when y'all watching them random ass white shows that be popping up every week that are cookie cutter of the same shit.
Same thing. So thank you so much. For those of you who signed up for Booked AF, I'll see y'all at 4 o'clock. You received the link in your email. If you have not seen it, it's in your spam.
Shannon, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing. We're going to watch you keep moving up. And I'll see you at the top.
Yep.
Have a good one. Bye.